Hey, welcome back to The Good, the Bad, and the Techy, a podcast all about leading edge technology. I'm VP of Engagement and Field CTO, John Collins.
And I'm CTO Howard Holton.
And this week, we're going to do something slightly different because it's the end of 2024. So let's have a think about what's been happening this year and what you can do about it and what you can make of it all. Let's do it. I don't think we make enough of that intro music. You know, that's kind of
it's kind of nice, right? Kind of sets the stage in a kind of lovely way. So, big stretch. It's the end of the year, closing down 2024. Whew.
It's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride for 1,000 reasons. I don't know. Has anything happened outside of GigaOM during this year?
I mean, I'll be honest. Everything happening outside of GigaOM, I just kind of want to put my blinders on and ignore it completely.
I mean, AI. I suppose old MacDonald had a farm. AI.
Yeah. AI. Cyber is really hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say we've seen some changes there. In what I hope will pay massive dividends in 25 and 26. Unfortunately, those dividends kind of step on some things. Like what we're seeing, just so I can kind of be direct with it, and we can talk directly to it. Is we're finally to the point where the AI problem, it can't be solved. It can never be solved, but we can make huge leaps by looking at cybersecurity as a data science problem rather than a tools problem. Traditionally, we've used tools that are targeted at a thing that really focus on addressing a specific issue, right? A tool that runs on an endpoint and searches against definitions for viruses. Instead, we're now able to look at tremendous amounts of telemetry and log data and look for signs of attack, which is infinitely more valuable, regardless of tool and across the entire environment, however we define the environment. The beauty of that is we can then apply machine learning and AI to that to really up level kind of our quality control and hone in on what is the thing I should be focused on right now, rather than the 25,000 alerts we probably have sitting in the various systems that we own.
So I'm just trying to, what do you call plasters in America?
What do we
Band-aid. Band-aid.
Oh,
so we're moving from a Band-aid world to just kind of fix that, patch that, to a let's have a look at the symptoms.
Yes, to treating the disease, right, rather than the symptoms. And the beauty of it is, as we get really smart with it, we will be able to do things like provide details about your team. I have 3 analysts on my team. I have a managed SOC. Great. So I want a dashboard that gives each member of my team, based on their roles and responsibilities and kind of working hours, what are the things they should focus on in a day? If that person on average gets 5 things done in a day, they don't need to see 6. Give them 5. Right? And the top 2 can't change. 3, 4, and 5 could change throughout the day. Here's the next thing you're going to need to be focused on.
I love that. Right? It's the, I mean, we talk about workflow as a thing that needs to be locked down and fixed and so on and so forth. In the business process world, it's like, oh, well, let's just make sure that you turn into an automaton and here's your stuff. But actually, and you can get a handle from the creative world where workflow is actually, I'm inefficient unless I know the sequence of things I need to work through, and I do that reasonably consistently, but it's my sequence, not the rest of the world's sequence. And the thought, I literally just spoke to Adobe about this, the thought that we can have workflows that fit the people's needs because the systems are acknowledging the people rather than the other way around is quite magical.
It has the potential to truly be revolutionary. Now, here's the downside. The downside is if I'm the company that makes that thing, and so far I haven't seen it delivered to that level, but if I'm the company that makes that thing, I'm going to ask you to replace a substantial portion of your current tool set. It's either going to be obsolete, or it's going to be incompatible, or it's going to be insufficient. Right? I'm also going to ask you to rethink your operating model, your staffing model, like how you run cyber. I'm going to ask you to completely rethink in order to make all of this work.
So working through those, though, I mean, sure, changing the operating model, that's always painful. It's change management, etc. Changing the staffing model, sure, painful. Change management, need a rethink, need a cultural move. Reducing the number of tools you've got, if that what this amounts to, is that something people are going to run away from? I'd be leaping with joy if I was
depends
going to manage it all.
The tools that you have now are a known quantity.
Right.
Any tool that you change is an unknown quantity. If I ask you to change the entire stack, a massive unknown quantity. It's different than going, well, I now have a new tool that I can take 3 tools and collapse it into one. I'm happy to do that because I have 52 tools in my environment. And if I go from 52 to 49, that's better for me, but I also have, 48 of those that are the same tools. So I'm still well within my comfort zone. And it's not as clear as that, but that's kind of
it does become a change management problem as well, because people like sitting in front of the tools they're familiar with. That sets expectations between the person and the machine. And you say, no, we're taking it all away. I wrote anecdote when I was running a Sun environment, and everyone was treating Sun workstations in a machine room. They had them all in rows. I said, no, you don't need to do that. You can have them all on your desks. It's all going to be great. Thinking I was making people's lives more pleasant. And they kicked off, my goodness, because these things are noisy. I prefer to have it over there so I can get on with my work here. And it just because you think, so we could take away the interface and say, you don't need any of that anymore. You just talk to the computer. It's all going to be great. No, over my dead body.
I mean, we are very close to the interface of the computer looking like Star Trek. Right. The weird part is I think in 5 years, you're going to communicate with the computer using language for everything except gaming. Gaming is the one thing where you're still going to have some tactile controls of some sort. But the rest of it, I think, is going to be voice, video, typing language that's going to really kind of be the interface to the computer.
I'm a bit disappointed that the future of cybersecurity won't look exactly like gaming, though, because that's what William Gibson led me to believe, and John Brenner and so on. I want to be chasing the worms down the pipes, and
it's true.
Just putting that out there.
I mean,
so cyber's going to transform. Cyber's already transforming. I think something you said when we were speaking previously was how just the nature of the beast is everyone's now got the beast. The beast's in the castle. It's no longer a case of it might happen to someone else. That was 10 years ago. And then it was, well, it might happen to me, but not if I do these things. Now the beast is just kind of, hey, beast, name it, Fido.
Yeah. I mean, gunpowder changed warfare in a huge way, right? And we kind of went through that with cloud. Right? That would be kind of the similar thing, right? It kind of destroyed the walls. Walls were no longer necessary. And we kind of switched to trenches, right? Since I can shoot over any wall, then the only solution is to build really narrow gaps in the ground. And since you can't shoot through the ground, keep your head down, and we'll kind of sort of manage. But then we added air warfare, and trenches were suddenly obsoleted as well, right? I now needed to move quickly. I needed to use cover. I needed to move as silently as possible, right? And I think that's actually where we're at now with AI in the hands of both the good guys and the bad guys. We're fully distributed. We need to be able to move quickly. We need to be able to react quickly. We can't trust that we have a secure, closed line where it's only our people on this side of the line. I think we've moved into kind of modern warfare, as it were, and we really need to update our thinking more than anything else to really consider: are we prepared for that, or are we still fighting? Is this still World War I, without recognizing that someone can just fly over recon and drop a bomb on us?
And it's kind of World War I, but one side's Mad Max, isn't it? You've got so just thinking through 2024, and we've talked about this, where everyone was wanting to do AI, or certainly the board was saying, "Hey, CIO, sort out, give us some AI," and the CIO was going, "What? Well, we were doing already that. All right, let's So proof of concepts would happen, etc. And then now there's been a bit more of fallback and regroup and restart and actually start putting it into strategy, nice and slow, nothing too rushed, etc., etc. Meanwhile, on the other side of the wall, it's open warfare, as you say. So there's no slowing of agility, of new ways of building. Literally mining vulnerabilities, creating new hacks, inserting, finding very, very complex and convoluted ways through multiple. Pick an IP address, pick a physical location, pick a certain mobile phone with a certain hole in it, etc., etc. Put them all together and you're in, because all you need is one SSL link and off you go. So, will companies fall behind, do you think, on that? Is it?
They're already behind.
Doomsaying?
We're already behind.
Right.
Okay. The question becomes, how do we maintain the gap and close the gap? We're always going to be behind. It's attack and defense, right? So it is by default an uneven playing field, right? It is always attack and defense. Defenders are always underfunded. Defenders are always undermanned. Defenders have to be in a stronger position, and we often simply are not, right? I feel like we are the Marines attacking Iwo Jima, right? Where the Japanese were highly embedded in Iwo Jima, had spent months setting up defenses, years setting up defenses, and the Navy abandoned us on the beach, just like the company often abandoned cybersecurity, right? So we need to get off the beach. Cool, here's some tanks. Yeah, but you didn't give us any of the machines necessary to pull the tanks out of the sand. Yeah, that's not our problem. We're driving forward, right? It very much feels like this thing where we were supposed to get supply runs, we were supposed to get more funding, people were supposed to take it seriously, and instead they went, you got this. You've been good all these times. You're just going to keep being good. It's fine. You haven't lost yet.
Back to the First World War, like people in London saying, "You'll be okay. Good Godspeed to you."
Yeah, or like people in London in World War II going, "I'm sorry, is that the sound of planes? Are those ours?"
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Suddenly recognizing that, maybe we didn't take this German threat quite seriously enough.
But there's no prize for. I mean, there's a prize for attack because you win what you're attacking. There's no prize for defense other than. And even if and that's the problem that CISOs have. I was talking to someone about Y2K. It's like, someone that was programming it. It's like, oh well, nothing happened, so it was all pointless. What a waste of time. And the poor guys that were actually fixing the holes going, "What do you mean? I now have to sleep for a month."
Right.
So there's that aspect as well. Just defending something and staving off the attackers, particularly in cyber. There's nothing to show that you achieved anything.
Correct. I mean, it's machine data that looks like other machine data that is incomprehensible to people who don't understand machine data. Right. It doesn't contain a level of effort or anything.
Security people.
The only way you're not spending enough money is after you've been attacked. The only time you're not doing the right thing is after you've been attacked, and generally some length of time afterwards, right? So we really need to change our philosophy and change the way that we view these things. We also need to change how we report, right? We need to change how we talk about how successful we are, what things that we are doing, and are we fiscally responsible? What did we do with the money you gave me last time? How did I make that work so that you can trust me to give me more money this time? Right? And these are things that I think 2025 will be bringing to us. And unfortunately, I'm still not seeing in the tools from 2024, in the achievements in 2024, there aren't good board reporting tools. There aren't good things that help me as a CISO take that to my executive, my non-tech executives, and go, "Hey, this is what we're doing. And this is why we need to do more."
Maybe there's a hiring aspect on the exec side. And I'm thinking back to when I was doing security awareness training, and the easiest one was when someone on the leadership team, I think it was the CFO, actually was ex-forces and then ex-police bomb squad, and they were like, "Yep, take what you need, sort it, fix it." That's a bit dumb, but because they'd actually been in the high risk situations before. But when you've got complacent white collar workers that kind of, no, I mean, yeah, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
So, well, the elevator jam, that's kind of it. So maybe there's an aspect of kind of either having people in the organization that get it, or rubbing their noses in it one way or another through a simulation or something, so that they kind of go, "Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Watch this film." I don't know.
I mean, adding some technical diversity to the board would probably help.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like not an MBA, but an actual someone that had boots on the ground, that has experience to really be in board meetings and really question. We're supposed to be tech companies. We're supposed to be data companies. We're supposed to be software companies. Are we actually doing that? Are we actually accomplishing that? And are we protecting all of those things with our cyber programs? Right? Having an insider that can help the board play inside baseball would probably help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that I'm currently seeing.
So outside of AI, we could talk about forever, but everyone always does. So let's not. Cyber, lot happening in 2024 on cyber. Where else have you seen movement?
I have 100 friends that are unemployed.
Right.
Right.
It's the little things on LinkedIn that open to work.
Open for work. Right. Matter of fact, that if my December has a theme, that's my December's theme. Mm-hmm. Is trying to find ways that I can help. Trying to find ways to help manage this, help mitigate it. I understand the companies are in kind of a wait and see philosophy. I know hiring managers that are additionally frustrated. I was going to say equally, but that's not at all fair. Mm-hmm. They're additionally frustrated, right? Where you would get 400 applicants before, now you're getting 5,000. Right. And it's just a mountain that you just can't make it through. You just cannot get through. Right. The tools haven't kept up and the processes are bloody awful.
So what thing I don't understand is if you do skills surveys of the world, for example, it says there's a shortage of technical people. We need to get more through universities. We need to get more apprenticeships. We need to get more training, et cetera, et cetera. So how does the fact that we're short of technical people and technical management people, people with experience, square with the fact that we're not actually wanting to hire them?
I mean, I think there's multiple things at play here, right? Humans naturally aim for a state of being at rest, and that includes mentally, right? So in tech, I can't have people that are at rest, and not everybody maintains their skills to an extremely high level, right? So there's kind of problem number one, right? My skills needs have likely changed over time, and candidates aren't really good at making sure that I'm aware of what they've done to keep their skills up. And managers are the absolute worst at keeping up with those skills, right? Technical managers of technical people aren't necessarily technical themselves. They may have been at one point, but if you're not technical, how do you come up with an interview process that helps you identify whether someone has the mindset to be up to speed, the mindset to be, at that point and at that place? Additionally, during COVID, we saw mass hiring because work changed. Now we're seeing this return to office. And what we're seeing is kind of two pieces come out of that. One, and I don't agree with return to office, by the way, not even a little, but people aren't listening to me. I don't get to decide whether we return to office. So that's fine. One is people don't want to go back to the office. Right? Their lives have changed. They've adjusted. In some cases, they were priced out of the neighborhood and metropolitan geographical area that their office was in, and relocated to a lower cost of living place. But it's now 2.5 hours or more, maybe 2.5 time zones from where their office actually is. So it is unfeasible for them to do that, right? The cost of everything has gone up so much. Some people have cut things like childcare, right? And work from home allows them to kind of work around those needs. Return to office would eliminate that and be a huge burden. So not only do you have the time constraints, but you also have the cost of, resuming childcare, and there aren't enough childcare workers either. So, that's not going to be an inexpensive proposition. In some cases, maybe not even a reasonable proposition. And then you have companies going, yeah, I don't want to pay COVID wages anymore. And so people are going, well, like, you want to cut my pay by 40%? That's not really,
You just made me I had this horrible thought of, and this is probably massively stereotyping, and I apologize, but having programmers retrain as childcare. Not one to judge.
Childcare pay generally, nanny services are more expensive than help desk services, and there's not a huge difference. Children tend to listen better than users.
Well, that's true. They're not so angry all the time.
Right. And when they say no for childish 3-year-old reasons. Yeah. But kids just say no because they're hungry.
And it's generally hungry, tired, whatever. Right. There's a list of things that you can go through. Not, oh, have you deleted all the files on your hard drive again? When I told you not to push that button before. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, that's a bit of a digression. But there's interestingly also the. I remember when I first became a technical manager, I was so proud of myself, and I almost I wanted to say, yeah, I can run meetings. I can. Can I put a plan together? Honestly, you should see my plans. They're second to, etc. And I went for a new job. It's when we were leaving France, and I went for a new job, and I got like tumbleweed response to my CV. And it was kind of fortunately, weirdly, so there's a link back to cyber, at a time where we had a massive breach. So it became blindingly obvious that everyone in the department needed to really gen up on certain skills. And also, the one bit of feedback I did get was they wanted technical people, not managers. So the next time, about 10 months later, when I reapplied for jobs and so on, my CV had completely flipped into Unix this and cyber that. Well, it wasn't cyber then, but security that and backup the other and so on. Oh yeah, great, come along. When can we interview you? So I'll just throw that in as maybe for anyone that's listening about kind of, look at me, I'm a great manager, sure, but don't make your CV talk to that.
Yeah. So one of my most recent LinkedIn posts has generated a ton of traffic is if you have open to work on your LinkedIn, which you absolutely should, I stop at every single one of those to try to figure out what the person does. So your name doesn't help me there. Also, if you've got 27 letters after your name, you're not helping yourself. Right. It's like wearing golden cufflinks with your initials on it. It just makes you seem a little bit like, it makes you seem arrogant. Nobody wants to hire that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Years ago at, around the 2000s, there was this kind of race to get certifications, and then everybody would add their certification letters to the back of their name. And a few of us thought that was ridiculous. And so to the back of our names, so like my title in the email system was Howard Holton, EIEIO.
Okay. Yeah, that's
right.
Twice that Old McDonald's had a mention on this podcast. Right.
Just kind of making fun of the ridiculousness of those letters. So first, like, that's a major turnoff. Second, if your little byline that goes right underneath your name every time you post doesn't tell me what you do, I will just continue scrolling. I cannot help you if you do not help yourself. When you are gainfully employed, you can change that to, amazing, outstanding, people first leader. Cool. Right. But when you are looking, right, leader of technical people is much more useful.
Actually, that's literally what I did wrong. This was 10 years ago now, but when I was putting myself out there, and so what do you do, John? Well, I'm in my 40s. I'm pretty good at, pretty insightful. So yeah, fount of insight, big cheese, this and again, nothing, tumbleweed. And I realized actually, and it's something I've trotted out since then about, if you sell oranges, just say I sell oranges. So I said, I'm a writer. And people went, oh, great, I need a writer. Thank you. So forget the thought leadership, this, or the looking for how the world works, or whatever. Just literally be specific, because people want specific things. They don't want you just because you're you. They want you because you bring something that they need.
Well, they have a need, and they need to fill it. And they need to fill it in the most painless way possible. Right? And in the way that makes them look the best. And if you immediately start with, I can't answer your question, you're not accomplishing that.
The only question I have is, where were you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I had all these moments of... So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's been I've had a road and a journey much like others, right? And so these are lessons hard learned. And I didn't always have this kind of focus. But it is, this is what happens when through your career you hire 1,000 people and, spend $5 billion of IT spend, work in a variety of industries. Ultimately, all of this stuff is the same. As a hiring manager, I need to find someone that can do the thing that I need done in the way that is the most painless for me. Right? First and foremost, that gets you in the room. If I ask you what you do, make it simple. If I ask you, what is your philosophy on doing that? Pontificate. Be aspirational.
Yeah. That's question 2, isn't it?
Correct. It's never question 1. So be specific. What do you do? I'm a writer. Oh, that's interesting. We need a writer. Tell me, what's your philosophy around writing? How do you address that? How do you deal with it? How do you work with it? Like, you have to get to the second question. If you don't get to the second question, you need to think about how you answered the first one.
Sage advice, Howard. And which is maybe so on the 2024 thing, maybe 2025 should be a year of reflection.
Introspection. I like introspection better than reflection. Introspection involves action. Reflection doesn't necessarily. Right.
Okay. I was pushing that back to 2026, but you go faster. That's fine. That's fine. Why not?
Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but yeah, I definitely go faster. So what are your thoughts around 2025? Where do you think all this is going?
2025. So, listeners to this can tune into our predictions, which will be about cyber, will be about AI, and will be about cloud and all those wonderful things. I think the thing that I saw, and it's why I've been so keen on things like FinOps and sovereignty and all these kind of governance-y things, is because a year to 18 months ago was the year that people stopped just listening to vendor marketing and said, no, actually, we need to start making decisions for ourselves. And therefore, look at the cost overruns, look at where the data is, look at whether or not you need a policy around XYZ, etc. I think 2025 is about growing up. I think 2025 is about, and I was listening to a vendor who will remain nameless with a 3-letter acronym, at saying, well, hybrid's this thing that we weren't looking at before. We were looking at hybrid in like 2007 as a kind of can't see how we're going to get rid of that legacy stuff. We went into this place where cloud was going to be, oh, well, let's just throw everything away because we don't need all that old stuff anymore. We're now in a place where we've got both, and we've got to deal with that, and we've got to deal with it from strategy through to engineering. And that's going to be the case for 10 years. So let's have a 10-year plan, I'd say, about moving everything to more efficient ways of doing stuff, everything to more efficient architectures, etc. Don't care what label you put on these things, but let's not just follow the marketing Kool-Aid. And I see that we've kind of fallen back, regrouped, starting to regroup, and now let's put in place the practices we need, which is really healthy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. There is of course a problem, and that is no one builds a 10-year plan anymore because the executive team doesn't plan on being there for 10 years.
This is very true, and I think it's less of a 10-year plan and more of because 18 months is probably a good tenure if we're realistic in some of these jobs, but it's recognizing that nothing's going to be fixed during that tenure. So you're and neither do you want to just sit idle and go, well, there's no point in doing anything. It's about moving things forward in a structured way at a strategic level. I've said that we've stagnated the move to the cloud. We're no longer moving to the cloud. We're developing new things, but the old stuff's still stuck where the old stuff was. So let's actually start dealing with that. And I think CIOs should be gauged not just on how much innovation they bring or customer experience, etc., but it's actually removing the toil of doing things badly the old ways. I'm all for doing things well the old ways. If the old ways were good, let's have measures based on removal of the pain as much as trying to access the nirvana-like state, because you won't get to nirvana without removing a lot of the pain.
That is very, very true, right? And I think I would like to see people start to look at the minimum length of a job is 2 presidential terms to have an American-centric view, right? I don't know how long the PMs are in power. I don't know how long that lasts. Is it an annual thing? Is it 2 years, 4 years?
It's 4 years for a government, and it's however long the PM lasts within his party. So
sure. But they can be replaced every 4 years.
Yeah,
if the party loses its lead and that the party changes their leader.
I'm already liking the whole concept of tenure. and then we're into the maths. You're absolutely right. Generally, if you've done well for a period, then you get another go, and that's how our government seems to work as well.
Right. I mean, I think if we want to fix some of these things, employment contracts would certainly help. Not to sound like a communist, but the reality is, right, we want people to stick around. We want to make these changes. We need to be able to rely on people, which means we as employers also need to be reliable. Right. I think those are critically important things that we really need to start kind of looking at and focusing on. So how do we do that? Well, I think employment contracts would help, and start from the top down. Right. Really start looking at, do we have people that we can rely on for, let's say, 4 years, just 4 years, right, with a renewal option. And then can we do that for the next level and for the next level and for the next level? And the point at which you get to a level where you're like, nah, I can't do that. Right. Then you need to start looking at, how have I defined that role? Who have I put in those positions? How are we supporting those roles? Right. Middle management's a good place to maybe start taking a look at that. Right. I think a lot of return to office is because you really have poor middle management that doesn't know how to manage people, unless they can scream at them in person, in which case you're probably better off just getting rid of those middle managers.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of good, quality, empathetic leaders that can turn really good results. How about we get rid of the ones that are just want to be the boss and want to yell at people and don't actually know how to lead and manage people?
I think there's an aspect of, I'll throw something out there, because 5 years ago we were talking about digital transformation. I think that was about the start of when that was. Here's my hypothesis for the end of the year. We've transformed already, and what do you know? It's just as crappy as it was before the digital. It's all about people. It's all about bureaucracy. It's all about getting things wrong. Everything that you've said is absolutely true. We're not going to, there isn't this nirvana state that technology is going to take us to, where everything just works. We've got, in the tech industry, particularly in tech jobs, we've got to work in a way that takes into account the fact we can't innovate ourselves out of a paper bag, never mind out of corporate inertia backwards. So this is about getting the right structures in place, the right people, the right processes, etc., and seeing technology as a set of amazingly powerful tools that can help us get there, rather than a series of magic bullets.
For sure.
Just cause miracles. We're not in the land of miracles anymore. We're still in Kansas.
That is true. That is true. Also, technology is just the tool of the triangle. The triangle is people and processes as well. So if you just keep loading the tool side and you don't ever fix the people and processes, you get a triangle that just starts to tip and tip and tip and eventually fall over, right? You've loaded the raft incorrectly. You no longer have any sense of balance, and you're not going to go anywhere.
which brings us full circle to what you were saying about cyber. So there you go.
Really well. With that, I think this has been another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Techy, GigaOm's podcast on leading edge tech. You can find us on all the usual streaming services and go to gigaom.com. That's gigaom.com/podcast to learn more. If you really want to learn more, subscribe to our research available at gigaom.com. See you on our next episode.
Thanks so much. Happy holiday.